Hey guys, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. I always love seeing how far this little community stretches across the world, and I think there's something truly magical about knowing that right now, you and I are sharing this moment together now. Before we dive in, I want you to settle in wherever you are. Maybe you're already lying in bed with your blanket pulled up to your chin, ready to drift off. Maybe you're resting on the couch, eyes slowly getting heavy. Wherever you are, this is your time to relax, to let go of the noise of the day, and to simply enjoy a story. And tonight's story takes us far, far away, not just in distance, but in time. We're going to travel back hundreds of years to a world where life was different in every possible way. A world without electricity, without modern heating, without the comfort of central air or even a hot water bottle. A world of stone castles, built to withstand enemies and storms alike. A world where winter nights could be long, dark, and bitterly cold. You might wonder, how did people sleep in those castles? How did men and women, nobles and servants, children and guards, manage to rest through the night when the walls themselves seemed to shiver with cold? How did they prevent freezing to death when the only warmth came from fire, furs, and one another? That's the question we're going to explore together. But we won't just explore it like a lecture. No, I want you to imagine it, to feel as though you are walking those corridors, breathing in that frosty air, stepping into chambers lit only by flickering flames. We'll wander into the grand rooms of kings and queens, and we'll slip quietly into the humbler spaces where servants laid their heads. And as we go, you'll begin to see that sleep in the medieval world was not just about rest. It was survival. So close your eyes if you'd like, or just let your mind wander. Picture the towers reaching into the night sky, the drawbridge lowered, the courtyard quiet except for the whisper of the wind. Above, the stars gleam faintly, and somewhere in the distance, a wolf howls. But inside, behind thick stone walls, people are preparing for bed. Some are saying prayers, others are pulling on thick woolen socks. Others are stoking the last flames of the fire before the embers glow into the night. And as we step into this journey, remember you are safe, you are warm, and this story is meant to carry you gently into sleep. So let's begin. Imagine this. The year is somewhere in the Middle Ages. The exact century doesn't matter, because time itself feels slower here. Outside the castle walls, the land lies quiet beneath a thick, heavy blanket of winter. The air is sharp, crisp, and biting. The kind of cold that cuts across your cheeks and makes every breath puff into a cloud of frost. Snow has fallen earlier in the day, and the hills beyond the castle are coated in white. The trees stand silent and skeletal, their branches glistening with ice. There is no hum of electricity, no sound of passing cars, no city glow in the distance. The only light is the pale shimmer of the moon, casting long silver shadows across the landscape. And in the middle of this silent world, the castle rises a fortress of stone, dark and unyielding, built not for comfort but for strength. The castle's towers pierce the sky, their pointed tops frosted with snow. From a distance, it looks almost like a giant sleeping beast, resting in the silence of the night. But up close, you can see the small signs of life. A thin ribbon of smoke curls upward from one of the chimneys, a faint reminder that fires are burning within. Behind a narrow slit of a window, a flicker of orange light trembles. Somewhere inside, someone has placed another log on the fire, keeping the darkness at bay. Step closer now. The outer courtyard lies mostly empty. A stray chicken scuttles into a corner of a stable, and a guard, wrapped tightly in his cloak, makes slow rounds by the gate. His breath escapes in white clouds. His boots crunch in the snow. The drawbridge is raised for the night, and the moat lies half frozen, its surface cracked in jagged patterns of ice. As you walk through the stone archway and into the heart of the castle, the air doesn't grow warmer. The walls here are thick, yes, but stone holds the cold as much as it keeps out enemies. The ground beneath your feet is hard and uneven, echoing with every step. Torches fixed into iron brackets flicker along the walls, their flames sputtering, their light casting long, restless shadows across the corridors. The scent of smoke lingers in the air, mixed with dampness, straw, and the faint odor of animals from the nearby stables. Now, listen closely. The castle is not silent. Even at night, there are sounds subtle, muted, yet alive. The crackle of a dying fire, the rustle of straw as a servant turns in their sleep, the faint creak of wood as the cold makes it contract. From somewhere deep below, a muffled drip of water echoes through the dungeon stones. And high above, the faint whistle of the wind pushes through the narrow windows, making a low, mournful song. You make your way toward the living quarters. Here, the great hall has grown quiet. Just hours ago, it was filled with laughter, chatter, and the clatter of wooden plates during supper. Now the long tables stand empty, shadows stretching across them. The remains of a feast linger faintly, the scent of roasted meat, the traces of spilled ale, the burnt ends of candles melting down to wax. But the warmth of company has gone, replaced by the stillness of night. At the far end of the hall, a massive hearth glows faintly. Its fire has dwindled, but embers still smolder, casting a faint red glow. The stones around it radiate a small comfort, but step just a few feet away and the cold returns instantly, wrapping itself around you like an unwelcome cloak. This is the reality of castle life. Warmth is not constant. Warmth must be fought for. Climb the wooden stairs now, each step creaking beneath your weight. The staircase spirals upward, the walls close and narrow. A torch burns weakly on the landing, guiding your way. As you reach the upper level, the atmosphere changes. These are the chambers where lords, ladies, and their families retire for the night. The corridors are quieter here, but no less cold. Drafts seep in through cracks, brushing against the stone like invisible fingers. You come to a door, heavy, wooden, reinforced with iron. It groans softly as you push it open. Inside, you step into a private chamber. Compared to the hall below, it feels almost intimate, though the air is still cold enough to make you shiver. A rug lies across the stone floor, a fragile attempt to soften the hardness beneath. A chest sits in one corner, filled with linens and clothing, and in the center of the room stands a bed large, sturdy, draped with heavy curtains. This bed is not just a place to sleep, it is a refuge. The wooden frame is solid, its posts tall, and hanging from them are thick curtains, drawn at night to keep in warmth. Inside, the mattress is not foam or springs, but layers of straw, wool, and cloth, topped with furs. Blankets are piled one on top of the other, their weight pressing down, trapping body heat inside. This is how they fought the cold, not with central heating, but with layers upon layers, creating a cocoon against the winter air. Imagine slipping into that bed, The straw beneath shifts slightly, rustling. The furs are heavy, their texture rough but comforting. The curtains are pulled tight, enclosing you in a pocket of darkness and warmth. Outside, the wind rattles faintly against the shutters. Somewhere in the hall, a door creaks. But here, in this bed, you are protected. Not completely comfortable, not by modern standards, but safe enough, warm enough, to let sleep find you, and as you drift off, you are not alone. Servants sleep on pallets nearby, wrapped in whatever scraps of cloth they can find. Guards rest at their posts, their cloaks pulled tightly around them. Children curl together on straw beds, sharing warmth with one another. Even the animals, dogs, cats, sometimes even livestock, are brought closer to the living quarters in winter, their bodies adding precious heat to the space. Everyone, in their own way, is fighting the same battle against the cold night. This is what a medieval night in a castle feels like. A mixture of silence and sound, of cold and fragile warmth, of darkness pierced by small flames. A world where sleep was never guaranteed, but always sought. And as we move deeper into this story, we'll see how every detail of castle life, the architecture, the bedding, the clothing, the fire, played a role in helping people survive the night. Picture the castle once more. Towering, silent, and strong. These fortresses were not designed with comfort in mind. They were built for defense, for power, for survival against enemies, and for protection of land and people. And yet, within those thick walls, men and women had to find a way to live, to laugh, to eat, and to sleep. The first thing you notice about a castle is its walls. Enormous, heavy, made of stone. Some were several feet thick, layered with rock and mortar. To an enemy, these walls were terrifying barriers. To those who lived inside, they were both a blessing and a curse. Yes, the stone kept out invaders, but it also trapped the cold. Stone does not breathe. Stone does not warm, it holds onto the chill of the night, keeping the air inside damp and cool. Even in summer, the halls of a castle could feel strangely cold, as though the walls themselves remembered every winter that had come before. Imagine yourself walking along one of those walls. Run your hand across the surface. It's rough, uneven, cold to the touch. If you leaned your cheek against it, you'd feel a chill seep slowly into your skin. That was the nature of these buildings. They were strong, they were eternal, but they were never cozy. Windows, too, tell a story. Today, windows are wide, filled with glass, designed to bring in light and keep out the weather. In medieval castles, windows were narrow, more like slits cut into the stone. They served a military purpose. Archers could fire arrows through them without exposing themselves. But for sleeping quarters, these windows were a mixed blessing. On the one hand, they allowed fresh air to move through the chambers. On the other, they were perfect pathways for icy winds. Even when covered with wooden shutters, drafts still slipped in, curling through the darkness like invisible fingers. Some wealthier castles experimented with covering thin sheets of horn, oiled cloth, or in rare cases, early panes of glass. But these were fragile, expensive, and often too small to cover the full window. So, for most, the wind remained a nightly visitor. The floors told their own tale. In grand halls, you might find Russia's bundles of straw, herbs, and reeds scattered across the ground. These were changed every so often, both to freshen the smell and to soften the hardness of the stone beneath. But in sleeping chambers, unless rugs or furs were laid down, the floor was bare and unforgiving. At night, the cold rose up from below, seeping into the bed frames, making the very act of sleep a challenge. And then there were the ceilings. High above in great rooms, they stretched into shadow, beams creaking softly as the wind pushed against the roof. In smaller chambers, they pressed closer, the wood darkened by smoke from fires and candles. But high or low, the air inside was never still. Without insulation as we know it today, castles breathed in drafts and exhaled chill. Think of the Great Hall again. During the day, fires might burn brightly in massive hearths, filling the room with warmth and light. But once the fire dimmed, the heat vanished quickly. Stone does not hold it long. Within minutes, the hall would return to its natural state, cool, shadowed, silent. This is why bedrooms were often smaller than you might expect. To sleep in a massive, open chamber was impractical. It was simply too cold. So instead, people sought more intimate spaces, chambers tucked within towers, rooms hidden behind thick doors, areas where tapestries and curtains could be hung to block the flow of air. Ah yes, tapestries. Not just decorations, but practical shields. Imagine walking into a noble's bedchamber. The walls might be covered with vast, colorful weaving scenes of hunting, of battle, of forests and myths. To the casual eye, they were art. To those who lived there, they were also barriers, trapping heat, dulling the endless cold that seeped through the stone. Behind them, drafts might whisper, but in front, the air was just a little softer, a little warmer. Curtains, too, played their role, not just on beds, but across doorways. Fabric was precious, and where it could be afforded, it was used as insulation. Heavy cloths hung across doors to keep chambers warmer, to separate one space from another, to hold precious warmth in place. Yet, even with all of this thick walls, narrow windows, rush-covered floors, tapestries, and curtains, the castle remained a cold place. To live here meant to accept it. To sleep here meant to learn to share warmth, to layer blankets, to place your bed near the hearth when possible, and sometimes to sleep in the castle meant something else entirely. It meant not sleeping inside the grand chambers at all. For some, especially servants and guards, the best place to rest was near the kitchens. Why? Because kitchens meant fire. The large ovens, once used for baking bread and roasting meat, held heat long into the night. Curling up near those ovens gave warmth far beyond what a drafty chamber could offer. In fact, for some families, kitchens became their unofficial bedrooms during the harshest nights of winter. Others sought warmth in numbers. The architecture of the castle encouraged it. Rooms were shared by families, by servants, by guards. Rarely did one person sleep entirely alone. Together, they created small pockets of heat, human warmth mingling beneath layers of wool and fur. The architecture may have been cold, but the bodies within it made survival possible now. Let your imagination drift to the outer defenses, the towers, the ramparts, the guard posts. Imagine a sentry standing at his station high on the wall, the night wind tearing at his cloak. He has no tapestries, no curtains, no furs. Just his cloak, his hood, and perhaps a small brazier of coals if he is fortunate. His bed, if he even has one, might be a simple bench or a corner of straw in a drafty guardroom. For him, the castle's architecture is unforgiving. And yet, even here, men endured. Every stone of the castle was laid for strength, for permanence, but rarely for warmth. And so, the people who lived there adapted, layering their lives, just as they layered their clothing. They built smaller chambers within larger ones. They covered walls with cloth. They drew curtains around beds. They huddled together. They created warmth in a place where architecture alone could not provide it. And as you think of this, as you imagine walking through those stone corridors, hearing the wind whistle, feeling the walls breathe cold against your skin, you begin to understand. Sleep in a medieval castle was never simple. It was never effortless. It was an act of survival, carefully crafted through the marriage of architecture and adaptation. Now that you see how the castle itself shaped the nights of those who lived within, let us move deeper still into the heart of the bed itself. For beyond walls and windows, the very way people built, filled, and used their beds reveals even more about how they kept the cold at bay. Now that we've walked through the stone corridors, touched the cold walls, and heard the wind slipping through narrow windows, let us step closer still, into the very heart of where medieval people rested, their beds. The word bed may sound simple to us today. We picture a soft mattress, a frame, perhaps some pillows stacked neatly at the headboard. But in the Middle Ages, a bed was something altogether different. It was not only a place for sleep, it was a fortress within a fortress, a shelter inside the stone walls, a crafted sanctuary against the cold. Let's begin with the bed of a noble. Imagine entering a chamber where a heavy wooden bed stands tall, almost like a throne. Its frame is carved with care, thick posts rising at each corner, strong enough to last for generations. From those posts hang curtains, thick and weighty, ready to be drawn closed at night. These curtains were not only for privacy. They were a shield against drafts, against flickering torchlight, and most importantly, against the relentless chill. Step closer, and you'd see the mattress itself. Not the kind you know, no springs, no factory stitching. Instead, mattresses were made of straw or reeds, stuffed tightly into sacks of coarse linen. For the wealthy, there might be an extra layer, wall feathers, or even down, if fortune allowed. These layers were built upon each other, softening the hardness of the wood beneath, creating a cushion that could, in its own way, cradle the body. Blankets were not just blankets. They were treasures. Wool woven thick, furs piled heavy, linens carefully folded. The weight of them pressed down, trapping the sleeper beneath a mountain of warmth. Imagine lying there, the world outside shivering with frost, while you are buried under layer upon layer, the sheer heaviness of the covers comforting, almost protective, and the pillows. For nobles, pillows could be stuffed with feathers, offering a rare softness in a world that was often so hard. Yet pillows were not just for the head, they could be placed beneath arms, behind backs, even used to prop up a noble figure who wished to sit upright in bed while listening to a story or receiving visitors. For yes, the bed was not only a place of sleep, was a stage of life. Important conversations, moments of intimacy, even audiences with trusted friends could take place within its curtained walls. Now let's turn our gaze to the servants. Their sleeping arrangements were far simpler, but no less human. Many servants slept on pallets, simple sacks, stuffed with straw, laid directly on the ground. No curtains to shield them, no carved posts, only a blanket, a cloak, or perhaps nothing more than their own layered clothing to keep the cold at bay. Servants often slept in groups, sharing warmth, lined up in corners of the hall, or tucked into small side rooms. Imagine the scene, the great hall, long since emptied of laughter and feasting, now dim and hushed. Along the edges, servants lay on their straw pallets, close enough to feel the heat of the dying embers in the hearth. Some curled tightly into themselves, others nestle shoulder to shoulder, borrowing warmth from one another. The crackle of the fire fades, and in the quiet, you hear the soft murmur of dreams, the occasional sigh, the shifting of straw as bodies turn in sleep. Children too often shared beds. Brothers and sisters tucked beneath the same blanket, whispering to each other until their voices grew drowsy and their eyes closed. Their small bodies pressed together not just out of affection, but necessity. Warmth was a gift to be shared. In the harshest of winters, even animals sometimes joined the sleep. Dogs curled at the foot of the bed, their fur adding a precious layer of heat. Cats nestled close, chasing away both chill and the mice that threatened stores of grain. In rural households, families sometimes slept in the same room as livestock, the animals' warmth rising like a natural stove through the night. Now return to the noble's chamber once more. Picture the ritual of bedtime. Servants draw the heavy curtains around the bed, tucking them tightly to seal in warmth. Candles flicker, casting shadows on the woven tapestries that hang on the walls. The noble climbs into the bed, dressed not in delicate nightclothes, but in layers, perhaps a woolen shift, thick socks, even a cap upon the head. For even in wealth, the cold could not be ignored once inside. The noble is hidden from view, enclosed in a small world of fabric and warmth. The weight of blankets presses down, the smell of wool and fur surrounds them, and slowly sleep comes. Outside the curtains, the chamber remains cold, but within, a fragile cocoon, exists a world within a world. And it wasn't only at night that beds held importance. In an age before comfortable chairs, beds were often the most luxurious pieces of furniture in the room. They symbolized wealth, power, and stability. To own a bed with carved wood, fine linens, and thick blankets was to own a piece of security in an uncertain world. For the poor, a bed might be nothing more than straw scattered on the floor, refreshed now and then when it grew too dirty or flat. Yet even there life unfolded. Families huddled together, telling stories, whispering prayers, laughing softly before sleep. Their beds might have been humble, but they carried the same human rituals, the same comfort of lying down after a long day, of closing one's eyes, of letting dreams take over. And so, whether noble or servant, child or guard, people of the medieval castle shared something universal: the need to create warmth, to carve out a small space of comfort within the cold. The bedding, humble or grand, was more than fabric, and strat was survival. It was family, it was rest. Now, as you imagine these beds, heavy with blankets, soft with furs, or simple with straw, let yourself feel the weight of the covers around you. Imagine the quiet breath of others nearby, the faint glow of embers in a distant hearth, the slow hush of the night settling over stone walls. This was how people slept centuries ago. Not perfectly, not comfortably by modern standards, but deeply, gratefully. Within the fragile warmth they could create. And with that, we leave the beds themselves, and turn next to the clothing, the layers upon layers that people wore, not just during the day, but through the long, frozen nights. Think for a moment about how you go to bed tonight. You might wear pajamas, soft cotton, perhaps a loose shirt, or nothing at all. You slide beneath sheets and blankets, already warm, already safe. But in the medieval castle, bedtime was not so simple. What you wore, what you carried with you into the bed, often made the difference between rest and misery. Let's begin with clothing at night. Most people did not change into what we would call nightwear. Instead, they often slept in the same garments they wore during the day, or in a lighter version of them. Woolen shifts, long tunics, simple undershirts, these were the layers that touched the skin. Over them, stockings of wool, sometimes tied with garters, kept legs warm. And for many, a nightcap was essential. Picture it now, a soft, woolen cap pulled down snugly over the head, covering ears, keeping in heat. The head loses warmth quickly, and in the biting cold of a castle chamber, this little piece of clothing made a great difference. In paintings and woodcuts from the Middle Ages, these caps appear often simple, unadorned, practical. For the wealthy, clothing at night could be more elaborate. A noble might wear a finely woven linen shirt, smoother and softer than the coarse fabrics of peasants. Perhaps a cloak or a long robe draped across their shoulders as they slipped into bed. But even then, layers were key. One garment was never enough. Now, imagine the blankets. Wool was everywhere. Thick, rough, sometimes scratchy, but undeniably warm. Blankets woven of wool could be heavy, pressing down on the body like a protective weight. The more layers, the warmer the sleeper. Families who could afford it piled blanket upon blanket, each one adding another shield against the night. For the wealthiest, furs were the true treasure of the bed. Think of pelts laid carefully across the blankets: fox, rabbit, bear, even ermine. The fur was not only warm, it was luxurious, a sign of status. To crawl beneath a fur covering was to feel the softness, the richness, the deep comfort of nature's own insulation. And yet, furs were not limited to nobility. Hunters, peasants, and servants sometimes used whatever pelts they could find. Stitched together from smaller animals, patched and rough, but no less valuable for warmth. A servant wrapped in a simple sheepskin might sleep more comfortably than a poorly dressed noble with nothing but thin linens. Imagine lying down now, the covers pulled over you. First, a coarse woolen blanket, scratchy but solid. Then another, thicker, pressing down. Perhaps a fur spread across the top, heavy, warm, its scent faintly earthy, its texture soft beneath your fingers. The sheer weight of it all keeps you still, as though the blankets themselves are holding you, cradling you into rest. For children, the layers might be fewer. A single blanket, a parent's cloak, even straw piled high to trap warmth. But often, children shared with siblings, their little bodies pressed together, blankets spread across them all. The comfort of closeness was as important as the covers themselves. Now, think of the poor. For many peasants, blankets were scarce. A single woolen cover, worn thin, patched again and again, might serve an entire family. Clothing doubled as bedding coats, cloaks, whatever garments they owned were piled on at night. If you were lucky enough to own a heavy cloak of wool, it was as valuable in bed as it was outdoors. Even nobles, though, understood the value of layers. Beds were often made with multiple coverings, linens nearest the body, then wool, then fur. Each layer trapped air, each layer sealed in warmth, and the curtains around the bed acted as one final barrier, creating a little chamber of heat in a world of stone and ice. Let us pause and picture one such bedchamber. The fire in the hearth has burned low, embers glowing faintly in the darkness. The chamber is cold. Your breath curls in the air, but inside the bed, beneath the covers, there is warmth. The wool presses down on you, the fur spreads heavy above, and your nightcap is snug around your ears. Your stockings keep your feet from freezing, Your tunic clings to your skin, and slowly, the warmth builds. You feel the contrast to cold air on your nose and cheeks, the heat trapped beneath the covers. You shift slightly, and the blankets rustle, heavy and reassuring. The sounds of the castle drift faintly in the distant creak of wood, the sigh of wind through shutters, the soft murmur of someone turning in their own bed nearby. But none of it matters. You are wrapped, enclosed, secured against the winter night. For some, animals added their warmth as well. A loyal dog curled at the foot of the bed, its body heat seeping upward. Cats nestled into corners, purring softly. In humbler homes, sheep or goats might even be brought inside during harsh winters. Their presence, both practical and strangely comforting. And so, bedtime was never simply about lying down. It was a ritual of preparation. Clothes kept on, stockings pulled tight, caps drawn low, blankets layered one by one, furs draped like shields, curtains drawn to seal the chamber. Each step was an act of survival, an act of care. And yet, there was something tender about it too. The act of pulling the covers over another, of tucking in a child, of drawing the curtains and whispering a prayer before sleep. In the cold darkness of the medieval night, warmth was not taken for granted, was created, cherished, shared, said. So, as you lie in your own bed now, think of those centuries past. Think of the heavy wool, the layered furs, the snug caps and cloaks. Imagine the press of blankets weighing you down, the safety of curtains closing you in, the closeness of loved ones beside you. And let that image wrap around you like a story, guiding you deeper into rest. Next, we will turn to the heart of warmth itself, the fires that glowed in hearths and braziers, the burning coals that kept darkness at bay, and the flickering flames that offered one final comfort against the medieval cold. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the flicker of firelight, the soft glow, the gentle crackle, the warmth radiating outward in a medieval castle. Fire was more than comfort, it was survival. The fire was the heart of the home, the heartbeat of the night, the only barrier between warmth and the endless cold of stone. Walls and winter air let us step closer to the hearth in the great hall. The fireplace was vast, sometimes large enough to stand inside. The stones around it were blackened by years of smoke, the mantel scarred by flame. During the day, fires here roared with life, logs piled high, flames leaping and twisting, filling the room with both light and heat. But at night, the fire dwindled. Logs turned to glowing embers, faint cracks whispered through the air, and the warmth began to fade. Imagine the sound, the hiss of sap burning, the occasional pop as a log shifted, the sighing breath of smoke rising into the chimney. The light is soft now, no longer fierce, but gentle, calming, a dim red glow spreading across the hall. People would draw close to it, warming their hands, soaking in its last strength before sleep. In private chambers, fireplaces were smaller, but no less vital. A noble's bedchamber might have its own hearth, where a servant tended flames before their master went to sleep. Picture the scene. The servant bends low, places a final log on the fire, waits until the flames catch. The room glows brighter for a moment, shadows dancing across tapestries, before settling back into the quiet pulse of firelight. Then the servant withdraws, the curtains of the bed are closed, and the noble drifts into sleep with the comfort of flickering warmth nearby. But fires could not burn everywhere. Wood was precious, costly to gather, heavy to haul. Not every chamber could have a fire, not every servant, not every guard. And so, people turned to other methods of warmth, methods that carried the spirit of fire into smaller, more personal forms. One such tool was the brazier. A brazier was a simple Vessalane iron pot or bowl filled with glowing coals. It could be placed in a room, carried from one space to another, even tucked beneath a table where people gathered. Imagine sitting with your legs draped in cloth, a brazier glowing softly beneath, the heat rising like a hidden blanket. The glow was not fierce like a roaring fire, but steady, quiet, dependable. And then there were bed warmers. Small, clever devices, usually made of metal, shaped like pans with long handles. Servants filled them with hot coals and slipped them between the sheets, sliding them back and forth to chase away the chill. Imagine lying down in a medieval bed without such a tool, the linen icy against your skin, the straw mattress hard and cold. Now imagine the difference, the warmth spreading through the sheets, transforming the bed into something welcoming, something survivable. For those without access to such tools, the body itself became the fire. Families huddled close, sharing heat. Lovers pressed together, children nestled against parents. Even animals curled nearby, their warmth blending into the fragile cocoon of night. The rituals around fire were endless. At dusk, wood was gathered, fires were lit. At night, flames were fed carefully, coaxed to last until morning. Servants walked through the castle, checking, stoking, tending. Fire was not something you could take for granted. It had to be watched, cared for, respected. And yet, fire carried danger too. A single spark could turn a wooden roof into an inferno. Curtains, tapestries, rushes on the floral were tinder waiting to catch. That is why fires were often kept small, especially at night. The glow of embers was safer than the roar of flames. So most people slept not in blazing warmth, but in the gentle comfort of coals, their red light pulsing faintly in the darkness. Let us walk now to the kitchens, where warmth lingered longer than anywhere else. Great ovens had been used for baking bread, for roasting meat, for boiling stews. When the work was done and the fires banked, the stones of the ovens still radiated heat hours into the night. Servants, too weary to return to cold chambers, sometimes lay nearby, soaking in the last breath of warmth. The kitchen, filled with the faint scent of food and smoke, became an unlikely refuge, a place where tired bodies could find rest in winter. When nights were longest and coldest, every ember mattered. People learned to carry fire with them, in lanterns, in pots of coals, in carefully guarded flames that traveled from room to room. The idea of letting the fire die completely was unthinkably meant starting anew. Struggling with flint and steel, coaxing a spark from nothing. Better to carry the living flame, to nurture it like a child, to keep it alive through every hour of darkness. Imagine the castle at night, lit not by electric bulbs, but by fire alone. Torches flickering in the halls, lanterns glowing in corners, hearths smouldering with embers. Every light was alive, every glow warm and soft. Every flame a fragile miracle against the endless dark. Now picture yourself lying in bed, your body wrapped in wool and fur, your head tucked beneath a cap, your feet snug in stockings. Beyond the curtains of your bed, the fire in the hearth is low but steady, its glow seeping through the cracks. The sound of the embers is like a lullaby, the faint crackle, the soft hiss, the whisper of flame against wood. Outside the wind howls, the stone walls shiver, but inside your little cocoon, you are safe. The fire is your guardian, the blankets your shield, the bed your fortress. For those without beds or hearths of their own, there was always the warmth of one another. In guard rooms, men gathered close, their cloaks draped around them, a brazier glowing in the center. In servants' quarters, straw pallets were arranged side by side, bodies pressed together, breath mingling in the cold. Even in the stables, warmth was found, the living heat of horses, cows, and sheep, their bodies filling the air with the steady comfort of life. And so, fire was not just a source of heat, it was a companion. It was the rhythm of the night. It was the thread that tied people together, the promise that no matter how cold the world outside became, there would always be light, there would always be warmth, there would always be a flame to guide them through the dark. As you think of this now, as you imagine the glow of embers, the soft crackle of wood, the warmth of blankets, the nearness of others, let that image carry you. Imagine yourself sinking deeper into bed, hearing the faint pulse of a fire somewhere nearby, and knowing that you are safe, that you are warm, that you are held gently by the night. And with this image, let us drift onward to the rhythms of daily life, to the rituals and habits that shaped the medieval evening, the prayers whispered, the songs sung, the way people prepared themselves, not only for sleep, but for dreams. Think, for a moment, about your own nightly routine. Maybe you brush your teeth, maybe you scroll through a phone, maybe you sip a glass of water before bed. In the medieval castle, the rhythm was very different. Yet the purpose was the same too, prepare the body and the mind for rest. The day in the castle was long, filled with noise, work, and duty. Servants scurried through the halls, knights trained in the yard, cooks labored in the kitchens, children played in corridors. And as the sun set, everything slowly began to change. The mood shifted. The castle grew quieter. Shadows lengthened, torches were lit, and the rituals of night began. Let us begin in the chapel. Religion was at the center of medieval life, and for many, no night was complete without prayer. Families knelt together, whispering words of thanks, asking for protection through the long dark hours. Candles flickered against stone walls, their flames steady but fragile. The chant of voices echoed softly, a rhythm that calmed both heart and mind. Imagine yourself there, kneeling on cold stone, hands clasped, the warmth of faith filling the space where fire could not reach. After prayer, families returned to their chambers. Servants prepared the beds, smoothing linen, layering blankets, pulling curtains tight. In noble households, it was almost ceremonial. A servant might warm the bed with coals, another might lay out fresh nightclothes, while yet another lit a final candle to guide the master to sleep. These small acts were gestures of care, fragments of ritual repeated night after night. For common folk, the routine was simpler but no less meaningful. A shared meal by the hearth, a final sip of ale, the telling of a story to children gathered close. Perhaps a lullaby hummed softly, or a tale of saints and heroes spoken into the shadows. These moments were not just practical, they were threads of comfort woven into the fabric of life. Music, too, sometimes drifted through the castle at night. A lute played quietly, a soft voice singing into the dark, melodies rising and falling like the rhythm of breath. Imagine lying in bed, the sound reaching you faintly, mingling with the crackle of fire, the whisper of wind. Music was both prayer and comfort, both celebration and lullaby. And then, the practical rituals, the small tasks, that prepared the castle for sleep. Doors barred, shutters closed, fires checked. In some households, rushes on the floor were swept or scattered with herbs to freshen the air. In others, dogs were brought in, both for warmth and for watch. Each act was part of the slow transformation of the castle from a place of activity to a place of slumber. Consider. 2. The rhythm of the body. People were guided not by clocks, but by the sun and the bell. When darkness fell, so too did weariness. The body responded to the quiet, to the absence of light, to the steady cycle of day into night. Sleep often came in two parts: a first sleep and a second sleep. After several hours, people sometimes woke in the middle of the night, prayed, talked, or even worked quietly before returning to bed. This segmented sleep was natural, expected, accepted. Imagine it. You drift into the first sleep, deep and heavy, wrapped in warmth. Hours later, you stir. The fire has burned low. The room is darker still. You sit for a while, perhaps whisper a prayer, perhaps listen to the silence, before sliding back beneath the covers for your second rest. There is no rush, no alarm clock, no demand for morning. Time itself feels slower, softer, more forgiving. In noble households, dreams were often seen as messages, glimpses into the spiritual world. People prayed not just for sleep, but for dreams that would guide and protect. Charms, amulets, or even simple herbs might be kept near the bed to ward off nightmares. Lavender, sage, rosemary plants, thought to bring calm and safety. The very air around the sleeper became part of the ritual of rest. For children, bedtime was an act of love. Mothers tucked them in, fathers told them stories, siblings whispered together beneath shared blankets. The warmth of family was as important as the warmth of fire. Even in drafty halls, even in cold chambers, the closeness of others was a shield against the loneliness of night. Let us picture it now, one last time. The chapel has gone silent. The torches in the hall burn low. Behind thick wooden doors, families settle into bed. In one chamber, a noble lies beneath layers of fur, curtains drawn, a fire glowing faintly in the hearth. In another, servants curl together on straw pallets, their cloaks wrapped around them, a single candle flickering nearby. In the stables, animals shift softly, their warmth filling the air. The entire castle exhales, releasing the day, surrendering to the quiet of sleep. The rituals are complete. The prayers have been said. The fires have been banked. The stories have been told. Now there is only silence, only rest, only the slow, steady rhythm of breath in the darkness. And so, as you think of these nightly habits, these gentle patterns of medieval life, allow them to guide you to let the image of prayers, music, warmth, and family wrap around you like a blanket. Let the rhythm of their rituals become your own, leading you deeper into stillness, deeper into peace, deeper into sleep. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through the corridors of a great medieval castle at night. Behind every door, people are preparing to sleep. But the way they sleep, the comfort they know, the warmth they find, all depends on who they are, lord or servant, noble or peasant, soldier or child. In the castle, even rest reflected hierarchy. Let us begin at the very top, in the grand chambers of the lord and lady. The bed was almost a throne, enormous, raised high off the ground, carved of oak or walnut, often adorned with rich fabrics. Heavy curtains surrounded it, not only for warmth, but for privacy. To step into such a bed was to step into a little chamber of one's own, separate from the cold, separate from the noise of the castle. Imagine a nobleman sinking into this space, his bed layered with linen sheets, wool blankets, and fur spreads. His night clothes, softer than most could dream, of fine linen against his skin. Around him, the chamber is quiet, but not empty. A servant may sleep nearby on a pallet, ready to rise if called. The fire glows low in the hearth. The curtains close, and within them, the noble lies secure, cocooned in comfort. A world apart from the struggles of his household. Now step away from that chamber. Follow the hallways downward, toward the rooms of lesser nobility, of stewards, of trusted guards. Their beds are smaller, their coverings fewer. Still, they sleep on frames raised above the ground, often with straw mattresses and blankets of wool. Their chambers may not glow with the same luxury, but they carry their own sense of dignity, enough warmth, enough space. A modest privacy that many in the castle could never hope for. And then, further down still, to the world of the servants. Here the air is colder, the rooms more crowded. Servants often slept in shared quarters, dozens of bodies pressed close, straw pallets scattered across the floor. Their blankets were thin, their clothes often served as additional covers. Privacy was rare, and warmth came as much from the nearness of others as from fire. Picture it, a long, drafty room, shutters closed against the wind. On the floor, straw rustles as servants settle in, wrapping themselves in cloaks and worn blankets. The glow of a single candle throws soft light across tired faces. They whisper to one another, sharing stories, laughter, sighs. And slowly, one by one, the voices fade, until all that remains is the rhythm of breath, the sound of bodies resting together against the cold. Then, in yet another part of the castle, the guards keep watch. Some stand at posts, alert, listening for danger. Others take their turn at rest. Their sleeping arrangements are simpler, still sometimes benches, sometimes bare pallets near the walls. For them, sleep is brief, light, always ready to be broken. Yet, even here, in the harshness of duty, warmth finds its way. A brazier glowing nearby, a cloak pulled tight, companionship in shared fatigue. And then there are the children. 4 noble children. Small beds or cradles were placed near their parents' chambers, often tended by nurses or maids. They slept beneath lighter linens, sometimes with furs, sometimes with toys or charms tucked beside them. Their world of sleep was watched carefully, for they carried the promise of lineage and future. For servant children, sleep was less guarded, but perhaps more intimate. They shared with siblings, huddled together beneath a single blanket, their laughter carrying into the night until drowsiness overcame them. And though their surroundings were humble, the closeness of family gave them warmth no fur could match. Even animals had their place. Dogs slept near their masters, sometimes even at the foot of noble beds, providing warmth and companionship. In the stables, the humbler creatures, horses, goats, sheep shared their warmth with stable boys who curled into hay beside them. Sleep was not only for humans. The entire living castle breathed in unison, resting together through the long hours of dark. The arrangement of sleep reflected power, wealth, and place in the world. At the very top, privacy, comfort, control. At the very bottom, shared space, simplicity, endurance. Yet in all these layers, the human need was the same. Everyone, from lord to servant, sought rest, warmth, and safety. Let us imagine now, walking once more through the castle as night deepens. First, the Lord's chamber, silent, guarded, closed. The noble lies within, surrounded by softness, distant from the chill. Then, the steward's rooms, smaller, dim, but steady with firelight. He rests, knowing his duty is done for the day. Next, the servants' quarters crowded, murmuring, filled with the warmth of many bodies together. Then, the guardroom half asleep, half awake, the glow of a brazier lighting tired faces. And finally, the stable's animals shifting softly in their stalls. Children curled in hay, the scent of straw and earth wrapping them in its own comfort. The castle is divided, yet united. Different in luxury, yet the same in need. Every soul within its walls drifts toward the same horizon, sleep, and so. As you think of this, imagine yourself finding your own place within that hierarchy. Where would you rest? In the lofty chambers of a lord, beneath furs and linen. On a straw pallet among friends, laughter still lingering in the air. Beside animals in the quiet of the stables, wrapped in hay and the warmth of life. Wherever you place yourself, imagine the comfort, the stillness, the peace that comes when the castle finally falls silent. The torches dim, the voices fade. The only sound now is breath and wind and the faint crackle of fire. The hierarchy no longer matters, for in sleep all are equal. All are resting, all are safe beneath the long, watchful night. And with that image, let yourself drift deeper, deeper into the story, deeper into the silence, deeper into sleep. When we think of medieval sleep, we often picture the castle, heavy stone walls, tall towers, thick wooden doors, and noble beds surrounded by curtains. But most people in the Middle Ages did not sleep in castles. They lived in cottages, in huts, in simple wooden homes. And their nights were very different. Let us imagine both, side by side. First, the castle. We have walked through it already in our minds. Grand chambers with carved beds, servants' quarters crowded with straw, guardrooms with braziers glowing in the dark, fires burning in great halls, embers in private rooms, a place where wealth allowed for layers of blankets, for furs, for stone walls that, though cold, also offered protection. Now let us step into a peasant's home. The walls are not stone, but wattle and daub or rough wood. The roof is thatched, and the wind slips through small cracks. The floor is packed earth, sometimes covered in straw. There may be only one room, serving as kitchen, living space, and bedroom, all in one dot. At the center, a hearth burns, smaller than the castle fire, but just as important. Its smoke curls upward, sometimes escaping through a hole in the roof, sometimes lingering in the air. The warmth spreads unevenly closest to the fire. It is strong, but in the corners of the room, the air is still cold. Here, the family gathers. Parents, children, sometimes grandparents, sometimes even animals. The warmth of the fire is shared by all. There are no curtains to pull, no separate chambers to hide in. Privacy is rare, but closeness is constant. For bedding, peasants used straw mattresses laid directly on the floor. Rough woolen blankets, cloaks, or even old sacks served as covers. Some families had wooden frames for beds, but many simply spread straw anew, covering it with cloth, and lay down together. It was humble, but it worked. Imagine lying there. The straw rustles beneath you. You feel its roughness, its unevenness, but also its warmth, as it insulates against the cold ground. Beside you, your family breathes softly. A child turns in sleep. A dog shifts at your feet. The fire flickers low, and its glow paints shadows on the walls. In this setting, survival depended on sharing. One blanket might cover several people. A cloak worn during the day might double as a quilt at night. The nearness of others was not only comforting, it was essential. Body heat blended, turning many into one source of warmth. Compare this now with the noble bed, raised high, layered with furs, enclosed in curtains. The noble lies apart, in comfort, in privacy. The peasant lies close, in togetherness, in simplicity. Different worlds, yet both drifting toward the same end rest. There were other differences too. In castles, the danger was cold draughts, slipping through stone, and the cost of wood to feed so many fires. In cottages, the danger was different. The thatched roof, the wooden walls both, were vulnerable to sparks. A careless ember could bring disaster. Fires had to be managed carefully, banked at night, watched with respect. And yet, there was beauty too. Imagine a winter evening in a peasant home. The family gathers close to the hearth. A pot of stew simmers, its scent filling the room. A child curls against a parent's lap. Another drifts into sleep beside the fire. Laughter, quiet talk, the crackle of wood. Slowly, the flames burn lower. One by one, the family settles into straw beds, pulling blankets tight, pressing close. The room grows silent. The fire glows faintly. Outside, the world is dark and cold, but inside, there is warmth, closeness, safety. The castle offered grandeur. The cottage offered intimacy. One relied on wealth, the other on togetherness. And yet, in both, the rhythm was the same. Fire, blankets, family, silence. The slow surrender to sleep. Think of it now. You might choose the castle, with its great bed, its thick furs, its quiet privacy. Or you might choose the cottage, with the warmth of family pressed close. The sound of animals shifting nearby, the fire at the center of all. Two different paths, two different kinds of comfort, both leading to the same stillness, the same peace, the same night's rest. So as you imagine medieval sleep, let both pictures live in your mind. The stone chambers of lords and ladies, and the humble hearths of peasants. The luxury of privacy and the warmth of closeness. Two sides of the same world. Two ways of finding safety in the dark. And as you picture them, let yourself drift, slowly, gently, as they did into quiet, into warmth, into sleep. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Imagine the chill of a medieval night, the stone walls of a castle, the waterland door walls of a peasant cottage. Now, feel the warmth around you, the blankets, the furs, the fires, the presence of others. This warmth is more than physical. It is comfort. It is safety. It is peace. Humans, in every age, have always sought more than warmth of the body. They seek warmth of the mind, reassurance of safety. In the medieval castle, a fire glowing in the hearth was not just heated, was a sign that the household was secure, that all was well, that danger had been kept at bay, at least for the night. Imagine yourself lying in a noble bed, thick curtains drawn, furs layered across your body. You hear nothing but the distant murmur of a servant and the soft crackle of the fire. Every layer of blanket, every fold of fur, every piece of woolen clothing presses gently against you, whispering, "You are safe. You are cared for. You may rest." And yet, even in the humblest home, that same sense existed. A family huddled together beneath a single blanket, children pressed against parents, a dog curled nearby, the small fire flickering, the body heat of those around you, the gentle sounds of life, the slow rhythm of breathing, all told the same story. You are not alone. You are protected. You may sleep. Psychologists today know that warmth and security are essential to sleep. In medieval times, people understood this instinctively. The design of the home, the placement of the fire, the sharing of blankets, all of it served a purpose beyond comfort. It was ritual, psychology, survival. Humans learned that the simple act of creating a safe space, of surrounding themselves with warmth, allowed the mind to let go, to drift into rest. Think of the rituals again. Drawing curtains around a noble bed was not only for privacy, it sealed out drafts. It created a small, enclosed world, a psychological cocoon. Gathering children close to one another, placing animals near the hearth, layering blankets carefully, every action reassured the mind, told the body, here, now, you are safe. Even small details mattered. A nightcap covering the ears, thick wool socks, a soft pillow, a gently rustling straw, mattress, each added a sense of comfort. Even the faint glow of a fire in a distant chamber calmed the mind, suggesting that someone was awake, alert, watching, protecting. Safety was a combination of physical and psychological cues. Now, picture the soldiers and guards. Their sleep was light, their quarters sparse, but the proximity of comrades provided reassurance. A brazier nearby, a shared cloak, the rhythm of breathing around them all contributed to a subtle sense of security. Even in discomfort, warmth of body and spirit allowed sleep to come. For children, this need for reassurance was perhaps the strongest. Stories told at the hearth, songs hummed softly. Parents' gentle touch hole provided the comfort that helped tiny minds release the day's fears. Even the rough straw beneath them became less important when the sense of love and safety surrounded them. Imagine, too, the peasants' homes. One room, perhaps filled with the whole family. The fire in the center, smoke curling upward. Children, parents, and sometimes animals sharing warmth. The roughness of the floor, the thin blankets, the small space, all softened by human closeness. The psychological comfort of presence, of safety, of shared warmth, allowed even the humblest sleepers to rest in the castle. Nobles may have had more physical comfort, but the principle was the same. Layers, fires, curtains, proximity of trusted servants' soul were methods to create a sense of security. Humans instinctively understood warmth equals safety, and safety allows the mind to let go. Let yourself feel it now. Imagine the layers of blankets, the soft furs, the gentle heat of fire. Hear the quiet breathing around you. Feel the presence of others. Sense the walls enclosing you, protecting you. Imagine your body sinking deeper into the mattress, the straw or the linens giving way just slightly. The blankets press down, heavy and reassuring. The fire crackles faintly. The room is safe. You are safe. Even the wind outside, howling around towers or whistling through cracks in a peasant home, cannot touch you now. It is carried away by walls, by blankets, by the bodies around you. You are cocooned, protected, enveloped in warmth. And as you think of this, remember, this is how humans have slept for centuries. Comfort is not only about material wealth, it is about security, closeness, care, and ritual. All of these things allow the mind to rest, Allow the body to surrender. Allow sleep to come. So let the image of medieval knights guide you. Noble or peasant, servant or guard, child or parentage, found ways to create warmth, to secure safety, to invite rest. Their bodies and minds knew the truth we know today. Comfort is the path to sleep, and sleep is the gentle healer of the night. Feel it now. Layers of warmth, the crackle of fire, the closeness of others, the quiet of the castle or cottage. Let it wrap around you. Let it lull you. Let it carry you into the soft embrace of sleep. Close your eyes and imagine the turn of the seasons. Autumn leaves fall, winter winds sweep through the land, and the days grow shorter. In medieval times, winter was a challenge like no other. Cold penetrated stone walls, thatched roofs, and simple wooden homes. Darkness came early, and warmth became the most precious commodity. Let us begin in the castle. The great halls are quiet, except for the fire in the hearth. Its glow reaches only so far. The stone walls draw in cold, and the windows, though small, let in draughts. Beds must be laid more carefully, blankets piled thick, furs added where possible. Curtains drawn tightly round the bed to trap every inch of warmth. Nightcaps and extra garments worn. Even the hearth must be tended. Embers coaxed into a faint glow to radiate heat through the night. The servants, too, feel the winter. Their quarters, often without fireplaces, grow cold quickly. They huddle together on straw pallets, sharing body heat. Cloaks and old garments become blankets. Even the breath of those around them adds warmth, a rhythm of life fighting against the frozen air. Imagine the rustle of straw, the whisper of fabric, the soft breathing of people pressed close. Outside, the wind howls through the towers, rattling shutters, slipping through cracks in doors. But inside, each layer, each careful placement of furs and blankets, each shared warmth builds a fragile fortress against the cold. Now picture the peasants' homes. Smaller rooms, walls thinner, roofs that let in drafts. The fire is central, the heart of warmth. Every member of the family gathers near it. Children pressed close, parents wrapping cloaks around them, perhaps a small animal sharing the heat. Straw mattresses on the floor, blankets piled over them, bodies intertwined to conserve every bit of warmth. The winter night is harsh, but they find comfort in closeness. Even the rituals of sleep shift in winter. Bedtime comes earlier, for the nights are long. Fires are banked carefully, so that embers last until morning. Clothes are layered more heavily. Blankets and furs are piled high. The body instinctively seeks warmth, curling into itself, pressing against the layers, seeking comfort in the weight. Imagine the cold air slipping through a castle corridor. A guard walks past, heavy cloak around him, boots thick against the stone. He pauses to glance at the faint glow of a brazier. Even he must rest eventually, curling near comrades, sharing warmth in shifts. Sleep comes differently. In winter it is deeper, slower, necessary for survival. In cottages, the cold is even more pronounced. The fire, small and precious, cannot warm the entire space. Families gather tightly. Breath mingles, blankets overlap, furs are shared. The body seeks heat instinctively, curling into shapes that conserve energy, pressing against warmth wherever it can be found. Even in discomfort, humans adapt. Even in harsh winters, sleep arrives. Consider also the psychological comfort of winter routines. Fires, blankets, shared spaces. These are not just practical. They soothe the mind. They offer reassurance against the dark. Even as night stretches long, even as cold seeps through walls, the rituals of preparation create security. You are warm, you are cared for, you are safe. Sleep can come, and let us not forget the natural aids. Animals near the hearth, warm water bottles filled with heated stones or coals tucked into beds, herbs, 2-cent blankets, faint songs or prayers whispered before sleep. Each element, small but deliberate, contributes to the creation of a safe, warm space. Now imagine yourself lying beneath layers of blankets and furs. Perhaps you are in a stone chamber of a castle or a wooden cottage filled with family. The fire burns low but steady. Outside, wind howls, snow falls, darkness presses against the windows. Inside, warmth surrounds you. You feel the weight of the blankets, the closeness of loved ones, the comfort of ritual. Slowly, slowly, you drift. Winter nights were long and challenging, but they were also times of human ingenuity and care. Every layer, every act, every shared warmth was a step toward comfort. The cold outside made the warmth inside more precious. The darkness outside made the fire, the blankets, and the closeness of others a sanctuary. And as you imagine these winter nights, let the image wrap around you. Let the crackle of the fire, the rustle of straw, the weight of blankets, and the breath of others guide you deeper into rest. Let the cold be held at bay by warmth, by closeness, by care. Let your mind drift with the same rhythm that carried medieval sleepers through long winter nights, layer upon layer, heartbeat upon heartbeat, breath upon breath. Into sleep, close your eyes and imagine the quiet of a medieval night. The wind may howl outside, the stone walls of a castle may be cold, the wooden beams of a cottage may creak. And yet, within, there is warmth not just from blankets and fires, but from companions, living beings who share the night with us, in both castles and humble homes. Animals played an essential role in sleep. They were not merely pets. They were protectors, heaters, and friends. Their presence was a comfort, a living assurance that even in the coldest night, warmth and life were close. Picture a dog curled at the foot of a noble's bed. Its body radiates heat, its breathing slow and steady. Perhaps it nudges the blanket closer with its nose, or shifts to rest its head near the sleeper's feet. The dog's presence is a quiet reassurance, a companion that provides comfort without words. The noble feels the weight, the warmth, the life beside them, and in that, sleep comes easier. Cats, too, were common. Their soft purring, the rhythmic sound of claws kneading blankets, the warmth of their bodies nestled near the hearth created a soothing atmosphere. Imagine a cat slipping onto a pile of blankets, curling into a tight ball, and its gentle purr vibrating through the fabric. The sound is subtle, hypnotic, a lullaby in its own right. Even in servant quarters, animals were present. Dogs kept watch, alert even in sleep, their presence giving reassurance to those nearby. Cats chased away mice, protecting the precious food stores. Livestock sometimes shared sleeping spaces with people in the harshest winters, their bodies providing vital warmth to children and adults alike. Beyond animals, companions of another sort also mattered. Siblings, friends, or servants shared warmth, protection, and the quiet comfort of presence. In cold, drafty rooms, humans instinctively huddled together, arms around one another, heads resting near shoulders, bodies pressed close under thin blankets. of these actions were part of the ritual of warmth and safety. Imagine a peasant family on a winter night. The fire burns low. Straw covers the floor. Children huddle close to their parents, sharing blankets. A dog lies near. A cat drifts in and out of the warmth. The parents' arms create a shield. The animals' bodies radiate heat. The small space feels alive and protected. The cold outside is kept at bay, the darkness softened by life itself. Even in castles, companions mattered. Guards rested near comrades, sharing warmth in sparse quarters. Servants slept near each other, their closeness offering not only heat but reassurance. And the animals, dogs, cats, even horses in nearby stables, provided rhythm, comfort, and life to the long night. Consider also the psychological effect. The presence of living beings reduces fear, eases anxiety, and allows the mind to relax. In the darkness, when every creak or whisper of wind might startle, the steady rhythm of a companion's breath, the soft murmur of a purring cat, the warmth of a nearby body, all tell the mind, you are safe. You may rest. Imagine lying now, wrapped in blankets, furs, and wool. Around you, companions breathe quietly. Dogs shift slightly. Cats curl into corners. Siblings murmur softly before settling. The fire glows faintly. The cold is distant. Your body feels the warmth of those nearby. Your mind begins to relax. Every sound, every breath, every gentle movement reassures you, letting sleep arrive slowly, deeply, naturally in this way. Animals and human companions were not luxuries, they were essential. They shaped the very experience of sleep, turning cold, dark, and sometimes lonely spaces into sanctuaries of warmth, security, and life. And their presence, subtle but powerful, echoes across centuries, reminding us that comfort comes not only from blankets and fires, but from connection, from life shared, from the quiet, rhythmic heartbeat of companionship. So as you imagine medieval nights, think of the warmth of friends, of siblings, of loyal dogs and purring cats. Feel their presence around you. Let the slow rhythm of their breathing, the gentle shift of bodies, the steady glow of fire carry you deeper into relaxation. Let the weight of blankets, the closeness of life, the quiet companionship lull you further toward sleep. The night stretches on, silent yet alive. The castle and cottage alike rest under the same stars. Bodies pressed close, companions nearby, warmth shared, hearts calmed. And as you feel this warmth, this connection, let yourself drift. Drift deeper, drift further, drift into the calm, the quiet, the gentle embrace of sleep. Close your eyes and take a slow, deep breath. Imagine the calm of a medieval night. Fires glow low, blankets and furs keep the cold at bay. Companions breathe softly beside you. Yet even in these moments of warmth and safety, sleep was not always undisturbed. Medieval people, like us, sometimes faced nightmares. Shadows flickered on walls from firelight. Creaking wood and howling winds suggested invisible presences, and stories of spirits, demons, or witches filled the imagination. The dark could be unsettling, even with warmth and companionship. Imagine lying in a bed, high with blankets and furs, curtains drawn around you. The night is still, but a gust of wind rattles a shutter. Your mind, half awake, conjures images of the unknown. A servant nearby stirs. The dog shifts at the foot of the bed. Outside, the castle stones moan with cold. Even the most prepared sleeper could feel a ripple of unease. In peasants' homes, nightmares were no less real. Drafty walls, small fires, and shadows cast by flickering flames created a stage for the mind to wander. Children whispered to each other in the darkness. Parents hummed quietly. Prayers were spoken softly. Yet still, the imagination sometimes created fear creatures in the night. Spirits in corners, mysterious sounds beyond comprehension. The medieval mind had rituals to cope. Candles and fires were lit, not only for warmth, but to chase away darkness. Charms and amulets were placed under pillows. Prayers were whispered to protect sleepers from evil. Even simple acts, like speaking the name of a saint or crossing oneself, helped the mind relax, allowing sleep to return. Imagine a servant rising slightly, laying a hand on a child's shoulder, whispering softly, calming fears that are unseen but deeply felt. The blankets are pulled tighter, the furs adjusted, the body pressed close to another. The dog growls softly, not at threat, but at the creak of wood, providing reassurance. Gradually, the rhythm of life, the shared warmth, the sound of breathing, the soft glow of fire reasserts itself, and the night resumes its calm. Sleep disturbances could also come from the cold. A draft under the door, a sudden gust through the chimney, an icy floor beneath the straw mattressol jolted sleepers from slumber. Yet medieval people had ways to cope. Extra layers, shared body warmth, even heated stones or braziers near the bed provided solutions. Every precaution, every ritual, reinforced a sense of safety. Imagine a noble waking in the middle of the night. The cold seeps through a corner of the curtains. He adjusts the furs, pulls the blankets tighter, whispers a short prayer. The fire in the hearth glows softly, coals still warm. He settles back into the bed, feeling the weight of blankets and the warmth of companions nearby. Slowly, he drifts again into sleep. In simpler homes, families adapted together. Children stirred, parents reassured them, blankets shifted, fires coaxed back to life. Even discomfort became part of the rhythm of sleep. A challenge met collectively. The mind learned to trust the ritual of the night. Warmth, protection, companionship. The cold and shadows could not overwhelm the sanctuary created by these small acts. Even when nightmares struck, the patterns of medieval sleep helped the mind recover. Layered bedding, physical closeness, the sound of breathing. The glow of embers all served as anchors, returning the sleeper to calm. Sleep was resilient, built into the rhythms of daily life, into the practices of evening, into the gentle human understanding of safety and warmth. So imagine now, lying beneath blankets, furs, and wool. A dog shifts at your feet. A sibling murmurs softly nearby. The fire glows faintly. Outside, shadows move. The wind whistles. The stones creak, but inside, you are cocooned. Every precaution, every ritual, every act of care surrounds you. Even if the mind conjures fears, they are small against the weight of warmth, against the reassurance of life surrounding you. And so, the medieval sleeper, whether noble, servant, child, or peasant, faced the night fully aware of its dangers. Yet with warmth, companionship, rituals, and vigilance, sleep came again. Nightmares were brief, disturbances temporary. The deep, restorative calm returned, carried by blankets, fire, and human touch. As you imagine this, feel your own body sinking deeper into the layers that surround you. Feel warmth pressing gently. Hear the soft rhythm of life nearby. Let every sound, every movement, every heartbeat reassure your mind. Let it guide you gently, slowly, back into the calm, the quiet, the soft embrace of sleep. Close your eyes and breathe slowly. Imagine the long nights of medieval castles and peasant cottages. The fires glowing low, the blankets layered high, the bodies pressed close together. Now, imagine time moving forward, centuries passing, and the ways people sleep beginning to change. In the medieval world, sleep was shaped by necessity. Fire, furs, and shared warmth were essential to survival. Nights were long and dark. The body, the mind, and the household all worked together to ensure rest. But as the centuries passed, homes became warmer, stoves more efficient, and lighting improved. The rhythm of sleep gradually shifted in the Renaissance. More private rooms and smaller households allowed people to sleep with more separation, more comfort, more individual warmth. Beds became larger, mattresses softer, curtains still used, but privacy increased. The companionship of other humans or animals remained important, but some began to enjoy solitary rest more regularly. Think of a noble chamber in the 16th century. The fire is still vital, but the room may have been better insulated. Furs and blankets remain, but the mattress is improved, the sheets softer. Sleep becomes more leisurely, more comfortable. The rituals of the medieval night. Stories, bedtime songs still linger, but they are less rigid, more flexible, more personal. For common households, stoves replaced open hearths, warming entire rooms more efficiently. Blankets remained, and sharing body heat continued to be important. But sleep became more predictable, less interrupted by cold. Even peasants could now experience slightly longer, deeper rest, less fragmented by discomfort or drafty walls. Imagine yourself lying in a bed from a later era. The room is quiet, warmer, safer. The blankets are soft, layered, comforting. Perhaps a companion is near, perhaps not. The fire crackles faintly, casting shadows across the walls. The mind no longer fears unseen dangers. Sleep comes slowly, peacefully, deeply. Modern sleep continues this evolution. Central heating, insulation, and soft bedding make warmth almost guaranteed. Nighttime rituals are simpler, brushing teeth, reading quietly, or dimming lights. Yet the instinct remains the same. Humans seek comfort, security, warmth, and reassurance. The body and mind respond to these cues, just as they did in castles and cottages centuries ago. Even today, people often sleep with companions, pets, or comforting objects. The psychological principle is unchanged. Warmth and safety foster rest. What has changed are the tools, the technology, the environment. We no longer rely on braziers, layered furs, or straw mattresses, but our need for security, for ritual, for comfort endures. Imagine now closing your eyes in a modern bedroom. Soft sheets surround you. Perhaps a blanket or weighted cover presses gently against you. A pet lies nearby, or the room is quiet and safe. The sound of breathing, the dim light, the comforting temperature all echo the practices of centuries past. You are warm. You are secure. You may sleep. The transition from medieval to modern sleep is not only a story of technology or comfort. It is a story of humanity, of adaptation, of the timeless search for rest. Each generation builds upon the knowledge of the previous one. Each layer of warmth, each ritual, each act of care, whether a candle flickering, a blanket tucked tightly, A companion pressed close carries through time. As you imagine this, let the centuries melt away. The castles, the cottages, the fires, the blankets all merge into a single rhythm of sleep. Feel the warmth, the safety, the calm. Let the awareness of centuries of human care, warmth, and ritual soothe your mind. Let it guide you deeper into comfort, into rest, into sleep. And now, imagine your breath slowing, your body sinking further into the mattress, the blankets, the warmth. The fire crackles faintly in your imagination. The companion's presence is steady. The shadows on the walls are gentle and soft. The world outside may be cold or dark, but you are held, protected, cocooned, drifting effortlessly into the quiet, gentle embrace of sleep. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel the rhythm of your body, slow and steady. Imagine the flicker of firelight, the softness of blankets, the warmth of companions. Let all the nights of the medieval past and the nights of today come together in your mind. We have walked through castles where stone walls hold the cold at bay. We have wandered through peasant cottages where straw and shared warmth create comfort. We have seen the rituals, the fires, the bed warmers, the nightcaps, the prayers, the songs, the presence of animals, and the closeness of companions. All of these, over centuries, have created the same goal: warmth, safety, comfort, sleep. Imagine yourself now in a chamber. Perhaps it is a castle, perhaps a humble home. The fire crackles softly. A dog or cat rests nearby. Your blankets are layered just so, pressing gently against your body. You hear the soft rhythm of breathing around you. You feel the warmth radiating through layers of linen, wool, and fur. You are safe. You are warm. You may sleep. Think back to the medieval rituals. Curtains drawn around the bed, blankets tucked tight, braziers glowing, prayers whispered. Every act was deliberate, designed to create security. Imagine each one now in your mind. Draw the curtains around your bed. Tuck the blankets tight. Feel the warmth of the fire or coals nearby. Whisper your own words of reassurance, silently or aloud. Each act guides your body and mind deeper into comfort, deeper into relaxation, deeper into sleep. Picture the companions, the family pressed close together, the servants sharing warmth, the guards taking shifts, animals curled nearby. Imagine their steady presence. Feel their warmth seeping into your body. Let the rhythm of their breathing, the gentle rise and fall of life around you, lull your mind. You are not alone. You are protected. Sleep comes naturally. Think now of the seasonal challenges, the long, cold nights of winter. Imagine the snow outside, the wind howling. Inside, the fire glows low but steady. Blankets, furs, and human warmth fight the cold. Even in the harshest night, comfort is found. You are that warmth. You are that safety. You are that stillness. Let it fill you, let it settle, let it carry you into rest. Remember the nightmares, the sleep disturbances, the moments when fear might have crept in. Imagine them gently passing by. The fire is still glowing, companions are still near, blankets still wrap you in softness. Nothing can touch the sanctuary created here. The mind relaxes, the body surrenders, sleep returns. Now imagine the transition to modern sleep. Softer beds, insulated rooms, steady warmth, quiet companions, peaceful nights. The centuries have taught us comfort. Every layer, every act of care, every ritual Every heartbeat of another being near is part of the legacy of sleep. Feel it now. Let it soothe you. Let it calm you. Let it guide you into deep, gentle rest. Take a slow, steady breath. Inhale warmth, comfort, safety. Exhale tension, fear, worry. With every breath, sink deeper into blankets, into furs, into your cocoon. The fire crackles faintly in your imagination. Companions breathe gently beside you. Shadows dance softly. The world outside is distant and muted. Inside, all is still. All is safe. All is warm. All is yours. Let the rhythm of centuries of sleep carry you. The medieval nights, the cottages, the castles, the rituals, the animals, the shared warmth, they all exist now within you. Let the layers of blankets, the soft weight of furs, the presence of life, the quiet glow of fire guide your body, your mind, your soul. Into rest, feel the slow descent into relaxation. Every muscle softens. Every thought slows. Every heartbeat sinks with the gentle pulse of warmth and life around you. You are floating in comfort. You are drifting in calm. You are dissolving into softness, into warmth, into sleep. Let the final image settle in your mind. The medieval castle, quiet and still. The peasant cottage, cozy and warm. Fires burning low. Blankets layered. Animals curled. Families, friends, companions, all breathing softly. The world is safe. You are safe. You are held. You are warm. You are calm. Breathe slowly. Feel yourself sinking further. Let the layers of blankets, the rhythm of life, the quiet of the night, the warmth of companions carry you fully into sleep. Drift, drift deeper. Drift gently. Let the centuries of sleep, the rituals, the warmth, the comfort, guide you into the softest, most peaceful rest. The world fades. The mind calms. The body relaxes. The warmth surrounds you. The companions remain near. The fire glows faintly. The night stretches endless and safe. You drift deeper. You drift further. You drift completely. Sleep now.